to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. In this podcast, I want us to look straight into the negotiated deal between President Tshisekedi and Kagame from DRC and Rwanda, respectively. The deal that was signed in Washington, of course, reportedly brokered by Donald Trump. And before we get into these details, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our videos. And thank you very much for supporting this podcast. We do this each and every day because of your support. And here, if you subscribe, whenever we publish our videos, you'll be getting notifications. This deal was signed, and a peace deal was signed in Washington and this deal was attended by Kenyan President William Ruto, who many people have been asking in what capacity he attended it in his capacity as the chairperson of the Eastern African Cooperation. East African region is the rotating chairperson, so currently he is the chair. And the trip to US came with other things that happened. I have realized that, of course, that the peace deal between Goma and the Rwandan side, M23, was long overdue and it needed to happen. However, just this afternoon, I listened to this review by Larry Madowo's CNN, and he seems to bring up a fact I want us to pay attention to.
Even though President Trump claims to have ended this 30-year war, you can tell how much the Congolese and Rwandan presidents don't trust each other based on what they said. President Paul Kagame essentially said if this deal falls apart, it will not be his fault, that Rwanda is committed to it.
The responsibility will not lie with President Trump, but with ourselves.
President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo shot back in his speech, essentially saying that he hopes Rwanda is committed to this deal this time.
We do hope that thanks with the same seriousness that the Republic of Rwanda will also respect fully the letter and the spirit of the commitments made here in Washington.
The elephant in the room is the M23 rebel group, allegedly backed by Rwanda. Rwanda denies that, but they're not a party to this deal. When I spoke to their leadership in September in Goma, they said they don't trust President Tshisekedi. They called him a crook, and that he's gone back on every deal he's signed so far. They don't think this will be any different. There's a separate mediation process led by Qatar that's going on in Doha. So that's one big question. The other big question here is critical minerals.
We're going to take out some of the rare earth and take out some of the assets and pay, and everybody's going to make a lot of money.
Some Congolese and many Africans are critical of the U.S. for even getting involved here. They feel that President Trump only did this deal because of those critical minerals in the eastern DRC. People see that as the true intention here. There have been many other attempts to bring peace to the eastern DRC. The leader said more than 10 million people have died. 30 years of war. The African Union has tried. There's been processes in Nairobi, in Luanda. These failed. So will this one succeed?
The peace in the African continent is a matter, is the asset that the continent needs to move and achieve its aspirations. However, I do agree that an imported peace, a peace where the African presidents must go to fly and kneel between a world power, while it can be perceived in the short run for lack of, or rather for ceasefire between the two camps. But I agree with what Larry Madowo is questioning, whether Trump is also just interested on the Goma resources, on the gold from that region. Maybe some of you need to understand. For the peace process, there have been different negotiations. As we speak, Trump hijacked a United Arab Emirates process that has been, Saudi process that has been going on, that these two, while US rushed and brokered this deal, but when you listen to the leaders, you will understand their standpoint. There have been another process that allegedly is supposed to bring peace, bring the two parties together. Remember an attempt by the African Union and other regional blocs to restore peace in Congo and Rwanda failed. And it has always failed because the global interest on what's happening there. Many world diplomatic observers believe that there's never been an issue between Rwanda and DRC except the gold that is in Rwanda. And everyone is pulling on his side. This was a culmination of the Nairobi process that was being spearheaded by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was also present there. But I've seen the official, the photos by the Nairobi State House team, the President Ruto's official photographers, and I've not seen them capturing Uhuru Kenyatta in some of those photos. Probably, I think intentionally, his image was omitted there because they wanted to get that credit. That probably they are the ones that President Ruto didn't want to share the platform with his predecessor. And of course, it's due to domestic political squabbles, if you allow me guess. There's been the Luanda process that was happening in Angola, led by the Angolan team, Angolan president on the other end. Now, we have established that then the US, the organizations that were sponsoring these two processes, the Nairobi process and the Luanda process, were mostly from the US. So the signing of that agreement was amalgamation of the two processes. It was the result of both Nairobi process and the Luanda process. So that is the first interpretation of that peace deal. And if you listen to Kagame seems to say that, it is not the responsibility of the US for this deal to succeed. It is our responsibility. And how I wish, and Tshisekedi is also saying that Kagame should, the context of Tshisekedi and Kagame, it looks a bit more complex, escalated, and where they sat in the world's global stage to show the world how they embrace peace. But not all that is being seen at the fray. I want us to listen to a speech from President of Kenya here.
Today's signing of the Washington Peace Accord for Eastern DRC is not merely a monumental diplomatic milestone. It is a decisive act to end a devastating conflict that has scarred the region for decades. Mr. President, what you have achieved is not only transformative, it is consequential and historic. This conflict has destroyed livelihoods, destabilized our region, and threatened the future of the entire Great Lakes African continent. Today's achievement culminates a relentless regional effort anchored by the foundational work of the East African Community and SADC, and today, this Washington process. The coordinated Nairobi, Luanda, and Washington process has created the essential pathway that brings us to this pivotal moment. We would like to extend our gratitude to President Tshisekedi and President Kagame for their leadership during this process. Reaching this point was made possible by the unparalleled consequential convening power of the United States and President Trump's resolute and focused commitment to global peace.
Of course, it's been a big cog. Kenya has been a very strong cog in making sure that this deal is brokered. Now, I understand this. The world is, or even the media, is covering this whole Rwanda and DRC deal. But some very critical deal was signed between Kenya and US on some health partnership that is supposed to run for 25 years. You know, 25 years. And some people have been questioning that deal because it involves sharing some very critical data with the US.
And so for us, the first, we hope to sign many of these in the days to come. But the first one we're going to sign is with Kenya. And the reason why is twofold. Number one, because of our close partnership. Number two, because they are they have stable and strong institutions, both in government and in the healthcare sector. And over the next few years, we're going to be investing $1.6 billion in health assistance over the next 5 years. And you'll see how that program works out. But the investment is in combination. It will allow us, first of all, to leverage the private sector to create a sustainable U.S. health assistance model around the world, and not just in Kenya, but this is the perfect place to prove that it's going to work, because it is going to work. And what it means is that money is not just going to be spent to provide medicine and care, it's going to be spent to improve the domestic infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure, so that in 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years, countries will say, we no longer need this much assistance, if any, because we have our own system, you've helped us to build it, it's now delivering results, and in fact, we now, these third, like maybe Kenya, want to go and teach other countries how to do it. And this is a very real possibility, and it's something we believe in. By the way, Kenya, our partner, okay, we're not imposing this, they're our partner. $850 million is what they're going to give to support these efforts. So this is truly a partnership. This is the way we should be doing assistance around the world. True assistance is self-sustainability, building the ability to sustain yourself in the long term. So it's an honor to be able to do this with you today. I'm excited. This is our first one. We hope to sign, 30, 40? How many? 50. Okay. Well, this is number one. We'll always remember this one. You always, the first one is the one that, and we think we've picked the perfect partner. I thank you for being here today. I know you're also here. You're going to join us in a few minutes over at the Institute of Peace for another important topic on the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. So we're grateful you're here for both of these things, but it lined up perfectly. We are honored to welcome you to the State Department, Mr. President, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think the continent of Africa must tread very careful. And I'm saying the continent must tread very careful because you know what this means? These deals that run for 25 years, the American deals come with a lot of give and take. So for the next 25, and Africa is always caged by these long-term deals. It's caged to worship the global leaders. It is not bad for Kenya to benefit. I've seen the government trying to say this is boosting Shah and the others. But the fact that African leaders troop, all of them troop to US to go and meet one global leader in terms of all this is just telling you the way we're still far from the reality. Just like what Larry Madowo is saying about Trump is only interested in the DRC, in the mineral exploits there. Even the Kenyan deal, it's a give and take, even though it will be packaged for Njiku back in Kenya as how Trump has. I've seen Trump has done this and done that. Of course, one thing you have to give him, unlike the other Democrat president, is he has tried to posture as a peacemaker for the continent, or not for the world. He did something for the Palestine one. I think he was also at the center of the peace for the US, the Ukraine, Russia one. But he declined to attend the G20 in South Africa, really sending mixed signals about his standpoint. It is not bad for Africa to get imported peace. But I strongly believe that the spirit of peace must be ingrained within the soil, in the African soil. You look at the body language of the leaders that were present there, in the way they were speaking, there is no doubt that really Tshisekedi and Kagame are just playing mind games in that platform. And while we all want peace for the DRC and the M23 issue to die, we must be very careful on how exactly we are going to achieve the peace. And these are some of the factors why I strongly feel that the continent must do more. There are very many players in this M23 and the DR war. Very many players. And players, not just the US, even other players from other countries like France that are interested in that gold exploit. And the reason why I believe that it must start by the two countries is there will be, the chaos is where the business involved thrive. Kuna war, amidst this war, is where people will come masquerading as providing humanitarian aid, masquerading as peace ambassadors, but they load the minerals in their planes and go. And they believe that while American involvement in it, Trump's involvement in it, is supposed to give them a leverage against others, they will try to destroy that deal. A more complex one is the fact that any deal involving America, including this one for Kenya, this 25-year health deal, has some touch with democracy. For them, they're only interested on who is also ruling. They also meddle with the internal politics of the countries. So I will not be shocked for them to be part of what is being questioned when these countries face an election. And even in Kenya, already I saw analysts questioning why the Washington team are back on the side of President Ruto. Even at the height of the Gen Z protests on that killing, they never did much. If you compare how the European nations are handled the one for Kenya, you'll understand that really they're best just interested in the deals. It is in my view that Tshisekedi and Kagame needs to embrace peace. for the sake of stability and for the benefit of the people of the two countries. However, that peace, it looks weak, it looks plastic, it looks unachievable if it is imported.